Evening, everyone. This is the video teleconference meeting for our fiscal court on January 20th, 2022. We welcome everybody. This is our work session, and we're glad you're with us tonight. And we're going to start tonight's meeting with a cancellation, unfortunately. We were going to do a promotional pinning for our new fire chief, Chief Brian Brewer. But situations have just come up this afternoon at the fire department, and Chief Brewer has asked that we hold off the pinning for another time. But we are going to tonight recognize a sheriff's deputy and a firefighter, and the 2021 VFW Deputy of the Year from our Brent Sheriff's Department is Chris Eaton. Chris Eaton was chosen by the VFW, who sponsors this recognition. Chris, you can see Chris on my left, probably on your, I guess on your left as well. But Chris is there receiving the award from the VFW. We're very proud of you, Chris, and we also have a certificate recognition of you presented to you on the 20th today for your hard work, dedication to the citizens of Franklin County, which have earned you the honor of being named 2021 VFW Deputy Sheriff of the Year. Congratulations, Chris Eaton, and that's wonderful. So if we could, magistrates, let's give Chris Eaton a round of applause. Thank you, Chris. Congratulations. Great job. All right, now we have another honor, and this honor goes to the VFW Firefighter of the Year, and that's Chris Daniels. Thank you, Chris. Congratulations. And with Chris in his picture are his wife, Taylor, and his daughter, Blair. And what a beautiful family you have in the picture, Chris. We are so honored and by your recognition and award. So we also have a certificate for you. And this certificate is the same. This is for your hard work and dedication to the citizens of Franklin County, which have earned you the honor of being named the 2021 VFW Firefighter of the Year. So we have those certificates. We congratulate Chris Eaton and Chris Daniels, both of them named Chris. Congratulations for this honor, and we appreciate the VFW for honoring our great firefighters as well as our sheriff's office. So thank you, VFW, and congratulations to those winners. With that being said, we now have, I do see her on, Chris Schindler's on from a joint task force on invasive species, and she has some things to talk about. Chris, welcome, and glad you're here. You may go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I won't take too much of your time. I really appreciate the opportunity to represent the Joint Task Force in presenting to you our draft recommendations. As you know, we've worked for 9 months since we were formed with a really amazing group of talented and experienced and dedicated people, and have produced an amazing amount in that amount of time. And I really want you to be aware that just because I'm the one presenting it as chair of the task force and the face of it, so to speak, this isn't my plan. This is the plan of the task force, which represents a great cross-section of the community, and everybody's leaned into this and contributed. So please see it as that, because that's what it is. I'd first like to walk you through the website. So Andrew, you were going to help me bring that to the screen, and then I was going to walk you through that. So the task force started by understanding that we needed to really get a handle on the extent of our invasive situation in the county. So if you want to scroll down, Andrew. So our first map we created is of a map of likely occurrences based on vegetative type. So, and this is a website that we've built thanks to the expertise of Noor Salam, a Joint Task Force member, who's a GIS mapping specialist working at the Office of Nature Preserves and is representing Audubon on the task force. So these areas show forested areas in the dark green, and the likelihood of depending on vegetative type, you're going to have a likelihood of various species. We knew from the beginning there was no way we could map the entire county. So this is a map just showing likelihood of presence of various species. And then you, of course, have the city core, which is represented in a light red or a pink, however it shows up, that is kind of the epicenter of our invasive problem. All the bad invasives are worse in the city than in the county. If you want to scroll down, Andrew. So we created, looking for the slideshow. Let's go further. We created a slideshow. Keep going down. There's a link. Yes. So right here, where this, sorry, you go up, Andrew, where the image of the plant is. So one of the things we did was build a slideshow, and it is got an icon where you can click on it, the arrow on the right, and it's got I don't know how many hundred species on here, not that many. It has the description of the plant, a picture of it, and a description of the best treatment methods. So we've built a great resource that we have, and the city is going to adopt this website and make it available to the public when the time is right. That's another resource we've created, kind of pulling together the knowledge and the experience of various task force members, including the available literature, to make this available and easily accessible to the public. And just scroll up to the next app, I believe. I think we'll go there. I don't want to spend too long on each thing. So the map with the red squiggly lines, yeah, and I want to zoom in here. If you want to zoom into, say, the city center, Andrew. So next, what we did is we looked at priority areas for treatments in the city and the county. You want to zoom in a little bit more so we can see the lines a little better. We created a set of criteria that, there's Fort Hill, I believe. We created a set of criteria ranking what might be a priority area. I've got a cat on my lap. Some of the factors in that is in the draft plan: public safety, high public visibility, gateway areas, high ecological value or ecological sensitivity. Those sorts of things went into how we rank the various priority areas. What we're in the process of doing now is attaching numbers to each of those priority areas, and we're starting with priority 1 areas, which are the ones labeled in red. Zoom out a little bit, Andrew. It's really hard to see. And so we'll have numbers associated with each area as far as what the cost would be for treatment of each area. So then once we get that in place, then we can go out and start fundraising for, say, if you want to zoom out a little more, one of our priority areas is the entire Kentucky River corridor up through the city of Frankfort. And you can see the bend there and the red line along it. That is, that's a priority area. Thank you. Yeah. Well, just through the city of Frankfort, that was what I was talking about. That's a distinct area. So once we get a dollar figure attached to that, and we know what our budget might be, and we can go out and start fundraising. But that's down the road. I wanted to pause. Does anybody want to zoom in to any particular area, ask questions? I don't want to make this super long, but I don't want to pass over things either.
Anybody have any questions on the areas that you see so far?
Chris, I'd love.
So we've got basically.
Okay.
Could you share this with the court members, please?
Yeah, it was shared in your packet. It's one of the links embedded in the plan. So, yeah. but yeah, all the parks are listed. Obviously, some of our high gateway areas or high visibility areas. And then the main ones out in the county are significant streams with high water quality designations coupled with adjacency or proximity to large forest blocks, which make them important for water quality and that sort of thing. And we anticipate that, you know, this is an ambitious, obviously, plan. But what we anticipate doing is, once we get approval, creating a fund through the Bluegrass Community Foundation to be able to be a landing place for charitable donations to raise funds. And obviously, we're going to start in the high priority areas with parks and the downtown areas along the river for that. But our philosophy is that we wanted to get it all down so we could be available. It could be available for funding when the time arose. There might be a charitable bequest or an estate that you know, is looking for a local donation from someone who's passionate about Franklin County and wants to keep the money in Franklin County and cares about native ecosystems or something like that. And you know, some of these might not ever get treated. You know, this is an ambitious plan, but if it'll never get funding if we don't provide the opportunity for it. And so these are you know, options. They're not there's no mandate here that this is what is going to happen. This is you know, it's a recommendation.
Chris,
And
Chris,
with that, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying. I thought we were doing questions. When it comes to river banks, creek banks, they're all, not all, but many of them are very steep, very hard to get down to. What is your plan to remove invasive species from these hard to get to areas?
Yeah, so that's why, and I'm glad you asked that question, because what I wanted to get to was in the actual draft plan with the recommendations, not the website. We have a series of recommendations. One of those in the back, fully filled out, is about the goats. Goats are one effective way to treat steep areas without you know, harm to people. It's not you know, it comes with its own complications, but it's a viable option that is used quite frequently out in the western part of the country, and is something that needs to be as part of the plan as a possibility, because goats are going to be the way to go in certain terrain that people just can't do safely.
So goats eat most anything, including the invasive species. Now, would these goats be? I'll leave it at that. That's a good. That's
yeah.
an interesting plan.
Yeah.
Good. Good for you,
So
Square
just so you know.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, goats are used effectively to treat invasives. Yes, they do eat invasive.
Yeah, good. Okay, Squire Mahler.
Thank you, Judge. Chris, thanks for being on tonight. Could you just real quickly give a reasoning why this is so important to our community, you know, for the court members and for anybody watching, why invasives are bad and what they're causing for natives?
Okay, yeah, I just like you to recall, you know, a couple of our court visits. I know we took you on a field trip to see the riverbank and see, you know, what invasive vegetation does in terms of displacing native vegetation. It disrupts kind of natural cycles and compromises the ability of natural areas to do their work. And, you know, forested areas in particular, you know, really work to hold stream banks, you know, keep the riverbank solid, prevent, you know, erosion and sedimentation in our waterways, which, you know, affects ag land. There's just a whole suite of things that invasive species or functions that invasive species compromise by impairing the ability of soils to be productive or forests to grow in a healthy manner. Choking out and displacing natives really is an economic, it's not only unsightly and prevents you from accessing your property, but it's an economic drain on the productivity of our land. The beauty and productivity of our land, not only because it keeps you from getting the most out of your forests and your fields and your pastures, but it also costs money to treat them, to get rid of them. So it's kind of a dual hit, and we've never had to deal with this before because they've never gotten so bad. But everywhere you turn, it's coating our trees and bringing down trees on the riverbank and causing trouble. I mean, it's a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar problem nationwide. So it's not something we can ignore. And what we would like is for this plan to get approval from the city and the county, so we can have this set of recommendations as at our disposal to utilize when all the stars align. The funding is there, the public support is there, we get the final approval from whatever entities we need to get the final approval from. This plan is not asking you all for, okay, we're going to do all of this all at once and it's going to cost X dollars. No, we're not asking for any money, and we're not asking for any specific approval on anything. What we're asking is that you endorse this plan as a series of recommendations, so then we as the task force can take it and run with it, seek funding, work on initiatives. We're already doing, today we already had a Bradford Pear meeting to launch a Bradford Pear program in the county to help people, get rid of invasive trees and replant native trees, So we're doing a lot of these things that aren't going to take money, but do take the support and goodwill of the whole community. And if we can show that we've got the city and the county on board, then we're going to bring money into this community. We're going to involve people civically by getting out in their yards and improving their properties and also helping beautify the community. We're going to improve the environment by getting rid of, invasive species, and also hopefully, create some jobs. So it's, I know you guys have many, many serious issues that you deal with all the time, and this seems like a side issue, and in many ways it is, but it's also fundamental to, to the health and well-being of our community, and it would be great to have your approval.
Other questions? Squire Sebastian?
Thank you, Judge. And Chris, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. I have just 2 or 3 questions. I did notice in the document that we received that it talked about the task force raising some funds to fund a position. Has there been discussion within the task force if that will be an annual commitment to raise funds for that position?
So no, we haven't gotten that far. There is commitment to do it for the first year, with the hope that that contract position can work with us to kind of leverage our work to get more done, because there's great commitment among the task force to keep developing this and advancing this work, but also maybe raise a few funds for continuing that position. But it's not off the table that the task force would commit to a second year of attempting to raise funds for that position. We just haven't gotten that far because there's just so much we've done in 9 months that we haven't talked about the second year. We're just, but that's our goal, is to try to raise $40,000 to get somebody on board to do some of that essential day-to-day stuff to help advance what we're doing. And I've talked about with the city manager and the mayor about maybe having that be a bit of a dual position, someone who also does some parks work, or maybe not full-time invasives, to make it fly that way. And there's definite interest in seeing how that might work. So we're just trying to get our foot in the door. We're trying to do what we can and see where it goes. But again, we're not asking the court for any money. But if we need approval of this, so we can start raising funds to employ people and make work happen.
Okay. Thank you. My next question is, I note as I read this recommendation that there was a discussion of partnerships with Eastern Kentucky University and working in consultation with UK. Was there any partnership explored with our own Kentucky State University?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a couple members on the task force that are affiliated with the Kentucky State University. So certainly, yeah.
I did note that. Didn't see anywhere in the proposal where it spoke in regard to collaborating with UK and collaborating with Eastern, but it didn't specifically kind of call out a collaboration with our own Kentucky State. So I just wondered about that.
Yeah, well, we certainly can put in there. It was almost like, felt like Kentucky State is one of our own because, the couple of people that have been really active members on the task force are representing Kentucky State. And so, yeah, that's an oversight. I guess maybe we could add that in the list of universities for sure, Sherry.
Okay. And the reason that calls to mind is because, as you know, inside this document, it includes some information about the goat browsing. Did anyone reach to the research and demonstration farm? That is a beautiful facility in the 1st District. And it has over 100 goats now. Many of them are about to kid. And that's going to come about in March. And is there an opportunity, because I know Kentucky State has utilized those in the downtown business district in the residential area over near Orlando Brown and those homes to do some work in the gardens before, bring goats down and take care of that. So it seems like that may be a built-in collaboration that could be utilized as part of this effort, since in our own Franklin County, there's already goats, that are utilized by the research and demonstration farm. And since this would be an excellent research and demonstration project.
Yes, Ken Andreas and the folks at the GOAT program over there created this budget. We worked together to make this happen. There's certain with COVID, there was hesitation from that department to commit to too much. But it's definitely that dialogue, those lines of dialogue are open. And that's certainly the first place we would turn if we ever got to a point where we were going to get goats in to do something. Without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, they helped create this plan. So
I just wanted to be sure, because I didn't see Kentucky State mentioned, and that's their biggest livestock projects out at the research and demonstration farm. It's the goat and kid program.
Okay, I'll make sure that's clear in the plan. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Our Booth.
I wanted to comment on the view sheds, what we call view sheds. That's part of why people come to Franklin County, I believe, because Franklin County is a beautiful county, as my district is beautiful. And I'm sure everyone thinks that about their own. But I noticed on one of the trips that Chris sponsored, a view shed of the Elkhorn Creek was blocked by invasives like the buckthorn and the
bush honeysuckle.
Yeah. What'd you call it?
Bush honeysuckle.
Bush honeysuckle. Yeah, I knew it was a B word. Okay. And after it was cleared, you could see the creek, and it was beautiful. And all through that drive, and that is a drive that goes through your district, Scotty, that was very, very beautiful. And I appreciate your concern about the view sheds. I think that's part of our tourism effort.
So Marty, we were approached by the folks organizing Bourbon on the Banks, because that was one of their concerns, that public feedback that they got was that people couldn't see the river. And a lot of it, not all of it, but some of it is because of invasives, that it crawls up and then hangs down. And so they approached the task force about, well, maybe we can collaborate to deal with some of this before the next Bourbon on the Bank. So yeah, it's a real issue, and it does, people notice, or if we're being good stewards or not.
Very good.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone else. So,
Judge,
who's
hey Judge, if it's okay with Chris and it pleases the court, I will be glad to send out. I know there was a question about the link. I can send that out directly to email to the court members if that would be helpful to them. And that's okay.
Yeah. What we'll do, Chris, is we'll have the draft that you're asking for approval by us on the February 11th agenda. Tonight was to entertain questions to make sure that everybody understood what it was about. And
So that
we'll
will
have,
be up for approval, like as
yes,
Chris
yeah,
asked
approval of
for?
the draft, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that you'll present that same draft to the city. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, we're on for the February 14th.
Okay. Okay. All right. Squire Muller.
Hey, Judge, is there any reason, since we didn't make any changes, that we couldn't just vote on this tonight?
Not on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it on the agenda because you all normally like to ask questions and think about things before you vote on it. I'm just trying to follow what you all like to do.
And I would also echo, we've talked about, we've brought up Kentucky State a number of times. They're not listed in the project. I would really like sure that that's in there. They are our university. And it appears that this plan is reaching out to outside universities first. So I want to dispel that and make sure that folks know that Kentucky State is part of this plan.
Would you mind, Chris, to send us an updated draft then, please? Would you send us an updated draft, Chris, with Kentucky State? Yes,
certainly. Yes. No, those are very good points. I mean, K-State was integral to helping shape the plan, but it was just an oversight. And I'm so glad Sherry pointed it out. And we'll have to run it by the task force and get approval first, because obviously they approved this before it got to you. And then I'll get it to you before the February meeting easily. Yeah. Okay. I'll get you the. Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Chris, thank you. We appreciate it. And God bless you for what you're doing. You really are trying your best to help our community and make it more beautiful. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on tonight. All right. The next item on the agenda is authorization of approval minutes from our regular meeting of January the 7th, 2022. Any questions on that item? All right, the next item is authorization to surplus a vehicle for trading purposes from our sheriff, Mr. Sheriff Quire. And congratulations to Chris Eaton on his deputy sheriff of the year. We're so honored, and I know you are too.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. He apologizes he couldn't make it, but he was off today and he had some things going on, but he wanted me to tell you all thanks for recognizing me.
Yeah. Okay.
But as far as the truck, we're just trying to get the best value we can. And as the economy's changing and, used car prices have went up, we're looking to sometimes when we sell them, this one only has 40,000 miles and we're getting 3,000 more than we paid for it. So I think it's good to get rid of it while it's out of warranty and get a new one for just 38 more hundred. We'll be able to get a new one.
Yep. Okay. What kind of vehicle is it again, Chris?
The one that we're asking to surplus is a 2020 half-ton Silverado.
Yeah.
The one we're asking to buy is a 1-ton 3,500 because of the other day we had to haul in a stolen camper from Lexington, and it's just not a half-ton truck's not very good for that, and also pulling some of the evidence in our cargo trailer.
Okay. Any other questions for our sheriff? All right, Sheriff, thank you. Thank you. Thank your guys and you and all of you out helping us during this inclement weather. You've done a great job. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Everybody worked together well and it went as smooth as it could.
Yep. Thanks. All right. The next item on the agenda, this is a second reading, approval of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for mini warehouse self-storage facilities. Robert Hewitt, are you on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to review this tonight for us?
Yes, sir. Briefly, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on December the 9th, 2021, and they have recommended approval to the fiscal court of this revised, amended code revision. This document incorporates the original conditions of approval as well as the amendments proposed by the fiscal court at its earlier presentation, and as well as an additional condition placed in there by staff relating to the orientation of the buildings and their overhead doors in relation to their proximity to public rights of way. And in a nutshell, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions, and hopefully this will address the concerns of the court.
Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Robert, thank you for being here. Judge, if I could ask you a question. When I saw this on our agenda, I went back and kind of watched our meeting from our last court meeting where, you talked about you and Lambert were the elders, and you had never seen an item that was shot down, voted against, brought back to court. My question is, who on the fiscal court asked for this to come back on our agenda? Because I couldn't find that anywhere.
I guess it was the ones that had this in the first place took it back through planning and zoning. It didn't come back to the fiscal court until it went back through planning and zoning. Isn't that how it goes, Robert?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when it didn't pass the first time, doesn't it just stop there? It seems like this ordinance kept going for some reason, and I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, as I said, I'm assuming that they had talked to some of you, one of you, two of you, whomever voted against it, and you all said that you'd be willing to look at it again. I don't know, but they're the ones that. Confused.
Who is they? This is about an ordinance, right? This isn't about a project. This is an ordinance.
Well, it is about an ordinance, but it is concerning a specific project.
Well, we don't have any information about a specific project, though.
Robert, wasn't this about a specific location?
Well, Judge and court, while I have had specific discussions about a potential project that has not been filed in my office, which I can't discuss directly, this has been something that I've considered for quite a while because of how this use is allowed for within the city limits, and it's been successful, and the county ordinance only allows it in the agricultural districts and the industrial districts. It would be a shame for someone in the county to have to drive, who lives in the urbanized area, to have to drive way out into the county to go to a storage unit when they could come into Versailles Road or somewhere else to access their goods and their belongings in the storage unit. So, I'd hate to use additional agricultural land for storage units, and thought that since storage units are often, complexes that allow you the opportunity to come and go quite frequently, that it would be appropriate to be on an area with a major roadway in a commercial district, much like the city has seen it as. I just think this amendment makes sense. So while I have had discussions, this is the staff initiated text amendment.
I guess my question is, it sounds like this is about a project that we don't have in front of us. Why wouldn't that project just go for a zone change if they're wanting to go on a different piece of land? I guess I'm confused while we're doing a comprehensive plan study, while we're looking to change an ordinance for the entire community because of one project.
Well, in my perspective, it's not about one project. It's about the appropriateness of a use in another zoning district. If it works well in the city, you go to the next parcel that could be in the county. Why isn't it appropriate there? And so You know, these are little storage units. You know, they're not 300,000 square foot warehouses. And once again, why do we want to use agricultural land for storage units? I think I would prefer, it's my opinion, that these ought to be allowed for in a high traffic area with easy access and to accommodate the most folks as possible without having to gobble up more agricultural land. This is not site specific. This is a community-wide amendment that would occur in those urbanized areas.
Robert, didn't we do the same type of thing for canoe launch on Elkhorn Creek that we did this same type of text amendment change, didn't we? Isn't it similar to that?
Yes, sir. It applies to any of those permitted commercial districts throughout the community. So it wasn't project specific. It was to allow an opportunity for, you know, that activity to occur in appropriate areas adjacent to the creek. So you're correct.
But it was initiated by someone specifically, but it was for all of the county though, correct?
You're correct. That text amendment was initiated by an applicant and property owner in the community.
Right, but my wife being the applicant, I don't think this is apples to apples, Judge. I mean, she was on everybody had her information. We knew what we were doing, you know. I mean, I don't think putting little kayaks in a creek to help the community out is the same as building, you know, storage units. I don't think we can compare those. So I don't know, it looks like other people have questions. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I just pulled my material and I've tried to pull it together here, and I'm looking back through the attachments that we have for this document, and then I made sure to put all of my material from our last meeting in here. And in the Planning Commission meetings, this is exactly the quotation from there. Under commission questioning, Mr. Lee asked if the ordinance change had not been approved by the Fiscal Court because they wanted changes to be proposed within the text amendment. Mr. Hewitt stated that was correct. I don't recall the Fiscal Court asking for any changes to the text amendment to be taken back to the Planning Commission in December. So I just sharing what I read here, and then from our information from our January 7th meeting, which somehow is not in this packet, but was in that packet, there was a staff report attached that said the Fiscal Court requested 2 additions to the text amendment that was originally reviewed by the Planning Commission, and that's dated December 2nd. And again, me personally, I don't recall the Fiscal Court taking this action up again to request this to go back to the Planning Commission or anyone to request changes in that. But I also have one statement to make. Our planning director just talked about taking up valuable agricultural land for a project like this. You know, something came before us earlier about taking up valuable agricultural property to put an RV park on. You know, so I'm now a little bit confused, but maybe where my position was before we started this conversation may have changed because of those statements. So I just appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Judge Wells, if I could address those 2 items.
Sure, please.
When staff originally presented this ordinance to the Fiscal Court, at the first reading, the Fiscal Court requested 2 amendments to the document. They asked that it be specifically identified that the trees be planted 6 feet on center, which was item C. And they also asked item E, that any dead or diseased trees shall be replaced as originally installed. Those are on the record. I felt it appropriate, since it had gone before the Planning Commission before, to send it back to the Planning Commission just for their edification of what had been recommended to be changed. And then I took that opportunity to also include an additional provision, item F in your current ordinance, about garage doors not facing a public right of way. As it relates to the second question relating to RV parks and agricultural zoning district, that's the code that was given to me. If the court does not like RV parks and the ag zoning, the court can initiate a text amendment, per KRS. So, I address issues as I see fit, and the court has the same opportunity. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any other questions? Squire Blackburn?
Robert, can you tell me what other uses are allowed in highway commercial?
Yes, sir. It runs the full gamut. You can have restaurants, shopping centers, car washes, auto parts stores, liquor stores. The highway commercial district, it allows for the most intense uses that are along major highways and thoroughfares. So that's a generalization of that table.
Squire Sebastian?
Thank you, Judge. I just maybe want to go back because I think in the first reading initially of this back in August or September, I think at the first reading, there was discussion about the dead trees. Matter of fact, I think, Judge, you were the one that made the comments. Those were changed prior to the second reading, which initiated the vote. So thereafter, no one has asked for anything to the fiscal court as it states in these minutes. So I guess maybe we should go back to Planning Commission and correct these minutes where it says the fiscal court asked this to come back. Can someone on the fiscal court just tell me who specifically asked for it to come back? I didn't. So I'll go ahead and say that right there. Just hold my fellow court members on that.
Okay.
Because we should clean up the minutes at the Planning Commission just to preserve the record as we've discussed a variety of times. Thank you.
Squire Moore?
I agree.
Squire Moore?
I did not either. I was assuming when I read that by saying that they meant our planning and zoning department, but they may have it confused. I don't think anybody from fiscal court did. I think the people wanting this done took it back before them or took it back to planning and zoning. I don't know how it got to the zoning board.
That's what happened.
I didn't ask.
All right.
I didn't either.
All right, so let's, no other questions. Thank you, Robert. Let's move to the next item. The next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances. This is a big one, sections, definitions, table of permitted uses, created residential recovery facility to conditional uses. So Robert, we've spent several months on this. You've really worked hard with the people involved here, Mr. Harp and the Deatons. And what is your recommendation?
So members of the court, there were questions at the last meeting under a discussion item had staff and the applicants discussed this issue with the sheriff's department relating to response times. Since the last meeting, the attorney, Mr. Josh Harp for the Deatons, and I met with the sheriff to discuss that directly. So based on that, and then some internal discussion between Mr. Harp and myself, there have been some additional revisions to the conditions attached to the ordinance that I would like to allow Mr. Harp to present to the court, since this is an applicant initiated text amendment.
Okay.
If I may, Judge.
Sure.
Thank you, Judge, members of the court. First of all, again, thank you for allowing us over the last several months to collaborate thoroughly with Robert Hewitt and the planning department and others in the county in order to address the concerns that the court has had. I am hopeful that we have done that. I know we've worked very hard to do that and have spent a great deal amount of time to do exactly that. As Mr. Hewitt mentioned a moment ago, we did meet with the sheriff, and I see the sheriff is on the call and was on the call earlier. And while I won't endeavor to speak for him, I think it's fair to say that other than expressing some general observations that we have a great need for residential recovery facilities in Franklin County, he didn't identify any particular additional criteria or concerns or elements that he believed should be included as additional conditions to make him satisfied that the Sheriff's Department would be able to handle their obligations in the event of some type of an emergency or police response. And obviously, again, he'll be able to speak for himself if the court so requires. But because of that, and again, Mr. Hewitt and I met with him at some length. I don't remember how long that meeting went, but as I recall, it was well over an hour. And we didn't uncover really any new elements that we felt would be appropriate or necessary to add as additional conditions to the text amendment. So as Mr. Hewitt said, we did then go back to the amendment itself. We did a couple of things that are in the text that I believe is in front of you. And I'll take those somewhat out of order, if I may, just because I believe it's a little more logical maybe. We first added a waste management provision to those requirements. That's that new paragraph F as conditions, requires that any residential recovery facility located on a lot which is not connected to the sewer must get the inspection and approval of the Franklin County Health Department. That was based on the conversation that we had with Mr. Cameron in the past that we talked to the court about at our last meeting. Also added paragraph G, which is the requirement to obtain a fire department pre-plan. As you will likely remember from our last meeting, that would involve a walkthrough by the fire department to create and file a pre-plan and keep that on file with the fire department, which better equips the fire department to deal with emergency if and when they occur. We also, based upon the conversations that the fiscal court has had in the past, the several conversations, we did go back and tweak the zones. And while it is still a substantial list, there were 4 zones that were removed from the list. Specifically, that was RS, RD, RL, and RH. And then we added 2 zones based on the conversations that the fiscal court has had so far, those being CG and CH. And then finally, what I think may be the headliner, so to speak, based upon the conversations we've had so far, is that we added some language to address the minimum lot size. That's that paragraph E, which requires that the minimum lot size for a residential recovery facility in any ag or RR zone would be 5 acres. That's substantially larger than the minimum size in RR, which is 1.5 acre by default. It says that, and that would be true for smaller size residential recovery facilities. However, if it is a larger facility, if it has an occupancy of more than 16 persons, more than 16 beds, then the minimum lot size in either of those zones would be 10 acres. And then we also sort of, going back to that metric of the minimum lot size in an RR zone being 5 acres as compared to the default 1.5 acres, we applied what I think is a consistent approach in the RA zones, and that is to say that 5 acres is approximately 3 times the minimum size by default in RR zones. Doing the same thing in an RA zone results in upping the minimum lot size to approximately 1 acre. And so that's what we proposed as the minimum lot size in those RA zones. I believe that addresses all the changes that we've made, and I am hopeful that has addressed the concerns of the court. Obviously, be happy to answer any further questions the court may have.
All right, so we got a lot to go with here. Squire Muller, you had your hand up first.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Hart, for being here again. So if I could ask Mr. Hewitt a question, just to be clear. So anytime applicants like the Deatons or anybody else, this would still go in front of the Planning Commission, correct?
No, sir, this would go before the Board of Zoning Adjustments as a conditional use permit request.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yes, and if I may, Judge, if I can just speak to that very briefly.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that was the baseline approach that we took from the word go, and that hasn't changed, which is to say that in every zone, every use, we've couched this as being a conditional use, which would require notice to adjacent property owners, a public hearing, public comment, et cetera. That would be true regardless of what zone a residential recovery facility were to be applied for in.
Okay, thank you. And then if I could, Sheriff Quire, I noticed you were on video. So do you have anything to say on this matter, if you don't mind?
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for including me in that, because I could see where there may be people thinking that we could have all these issues and need law enforcement and fire. But after talking to Mr. Harp, I think that we wouldn't need any additional resources. As your sheriff, I always respond to the needs of the community, and we'll always take calls wherever they're at. And I just want the court to know that we wouldn't need any additional resources. We'll be there if there's any issues, and I expect to have a pretty good relationship, and I think it'll be just fine. And we all been touched by the drug issue, every one of us, and I just feel like there's a need for it, and it may be a good thing to have something that's long-term in our community. So that's pretty much, it was probably an hour-and-a-half conversation that I had with Robert and Mr. Harp, and I felt pretty good when I left there. So that's pretty much what I had to say. And, if they call, we'll have deputies out, we'll take the calls.
Sheriff, so on top of that, so as you looked at these types of different zones, you don't have a problem with any of the zones that they are recommending this to go into?
No, I mean, we're pretty used to it. As you are aware, there's plenty of, there's homes and neighborhoods very close to people that, deal with the mental illness, and we respond to some calls there. And, once we identify those locations, we know when we need to prioritize or whatever calls are there, and we kind of learn the area. So it's the same thing we would apply to this location.
Okay. Squire Mahler?
Thank you, Judge. Sheriff, that brings up a good point. Will your office or Mr. Harp, will the sheriff's office be notified if and when these facilities get passed? I mean, is that something that is feasible? I mean, it seems like if they knew they were there, it might help them on the forefront.
I don't know necessarily that by default there would be a requirement to notify the sheriff's department of the existence of such a facility or the installation of such a facility. But to my knowledge, I'm not really, and maybe Mr. Hewitt or the sheriff can correct me, but I'm not aware of there being a similar requirement for any other facilities either. So I believe if we were to include such a requirement here, that would be somewhat of an aberration. Again, I may be wrong about that, but.
Thank you.
Judge Wells, Mr. Harp is correct. We do not directly notify the sheriff's office of any new use or the relocation of an existing use.
And that's understandable. I understand that. Okay, Squire Tracy.
In regards to a facility like this, would there be a possibility that it would be in close proximity to a school? And if so, what type of background screening process is in place to make sure, I guess, registered offenders per se? Is there anything like that in place to make sure that doesn't happen?
The answer to the first question is yes, I suppose that is possible, because it would be contingent upon wherever an applicant were to apply for a facility to go in. And because, as we've said many times, these facilities take many different forms and iterations, it's entirely conceivable that there could be an application for a residential recovery facility to be installed somewhere in proximity to a school. Again, the very word proximity is a nebulous word that would be difficult for us to pin down maybe. But the short answer to that question is yes. The longer answer to what type of screening is required, if I understand your question correctly, Are you suggesting the screening of residents in the facility to ensure that they are not registered sex offenders?
Just registered offenders per se that have stipulations that don't allow them to be in close proximity of schools and other facilities, daycares or so forth. So would there be something in place to make sure that wouldn't happen?
I don't know that there would necessarily, the short answer is I don't know. It's possible that the Deatons may, with regard to their particular program, may already have conceived and conceptualized of such a requirement. I am aware, of course, that the registered sex offender statutes that require that a registered sex offender not reside within, I forget what the proximity is, but within a certain radius from a school, that the onus is not upon a program or upon a housing provider, that the law very strictly places that requirement upon the registered sex offender, and they are the ones that are required to comply with that. Obviously, I suppose it's obviously a truism that not everyone complies, which is why they are registered sex offenders in the first place. But the requirement that they not reside there would not be contingent upon whether they were properly screened. In other words, if someone somehow slipped through the cracks and they were a registered sex offender and were housed in a location that was within a proximity of a school that the statute doesn't permit, it really wouldn't be any defense for them to say, well, they let me stay here. They would be required to leave, and upon notification to the facility, they would, of course, evict them very quickly. The registered sex offender, that registry is maintained by the Kentucky State Police and is required to be updated at least multiple times a week. I believe it's maybe as frequently as once a day, but I may be wrong about that. But it is a very easy thing to check the registered sex offender registry and inquire whether a person is on that registry.
Okay. Any other questions? Other questions? So I don't know whether it's the best thing, Robert. I think it might behoove us to make sure that this moves forward. Lambert, if you don't mind, let me say what I'm going to say, and then I want you to interject, because I was kind of going the route thinking of where you're going to come here. Robert, could we take the graph on page 2 and go through it and say and list the zones that it would be allowed in, and then let's make sure that the court is that there's 4 members for each one of those before we move forward, so we don't have to do that again when it comes to voting time, and we can be all on the same page. Is that okay, Robert? Is that okay, Lambert? Is that what you want to do?
I was wanting, because there's at least one I don't want in there.
That's why I kind of brought that up, to see if we can all come to some type of consensus on the zones. Is that all right, Robert?
Yes,
sir. So if everybody would turn to page 2, where it has the a graph, and Robert, we'll just start with AG. Is AG an appropriate zone? Yes or no?
Yes.
Robert Hewitt, is AG an appropriate zone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir, I believe in that. So that stands for agricultural.
Yes. Is RR an appropriate zone? According to what you're asking for?
Well,
yes.
It's the applicant requesting it, but yes, I find it appropriate, and that's rural residential.
All right. RA?
So RA is a large lot, single family residential district. Some RA zones are on septic. So, I'll leave that at the court. We're starting to get into single family districts at this point.
Yeah, I don't RA should be included.
You don't think RA should be included?
No.
Do you have a comment, Robert? So tell us again, explain an RA so we can get a better understanding.
So in RAs, zoning district is specifically a single-family detached residential zoning classification with a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. This text amendment would require a minimum lot size of 1 acre for this facility. There would be, based on the size, the only, animals that would be allowed that are, not identified as family pets would be chickens, based on the zoning ordinance. So,
And
but it's just,
Squire Moore, you want to say why you're against this one?
Well, for that, they need to be above 5 acres. I think 5 acres or more if they're going to have any kind of animal.
Okay.
RA would be acceptable,
Okay.
appropriate.
Okay. So you're asking to have RA removed from the list?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
All right. I'll go with it as well, Squire Tracy.
And Judge, I would too, just based on some of the conditions that are listed in the lot size for E, the new language that was put in. I think that would make it more consistent to remove RA.
All right. So RA has been removed, and now let's go to RB. Everybody okay with that one? RB. Did you have your hand up, Squire Blackburn?
No, sir.
Okay. RB's okay. How about RC?
Robert, but yeah, I had questions on RB too.
Okay.
The only one I would be for in the R's would be RR. Robert, you want to tell us about RB?
yes, sir. So that also is directly a single family detached residential classification. The B references a medium Lake subdivision, Westridge subdivision. Those are very tip RB developments. So when you look at the R classifications, RA is larger lot, RB gets a little bit smaller, RC gets even smaller than that. So it's related to density. So A is low density, B is medium density, C is higher density, meaning more lots per acre.
Right. So I don't think any RB would be appropriate.
So then you would not think that RC, because in RC smaller lots?
Right. Correct. I wouldn't. We'll move on to it. I don't think it'd be appropriate either.
What about RS, Robert?
Well, that's a special residential classification that allows for a mixture of housing types, including townhomes, single-family homes, and duplexes. So it's unique. That classification for development is not often used by developers.
That's not one of the ones that you identified either.
Yeah, it's
Robert,
not.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But so is there a minimum lot size for that classification?
I'll have to pull that up in the regulation. If I recall correctly, it's based on an average density of the surrounding zonings.
Okay. Instead of going, is there someone that wants to say that you want to not allow any of the R's except for RR?
That's what I would like to say. Yes.
That's what you would like to say? Robert, I guess the question then would come to you. Are there any of the R's other than RR that would require at least 5 acres?
Not per this amendment. Other than RA, the other R districts require connection to public sewers, if that helps the court any.
Okay. Mr. Harp, I'll allow you to interject if you'd like.
Obviously, it is the court's prerogative to do what it wills here. I just think it's it's important to remember that as conceived, this would include not big facilities in residential zones, but the use of homes in residential zones that does not change the density of the residency in those homes, but would include homes that are used for purposes of having a handful of people still living there. It's just that they are living in a home where they are kept in a sober and drug-free environment versus those same people living in that same home with that same density, but not being a part of that program. And so I just, once again, hope that the court remembers that the reason why we've included the zones that we have is because we see and we have seen the model successfully portrayed, successfully demonstrated in other places where a home in a residential location that has substantially less than 5 acres can be used for the purpose of housing people that are in a program, maybe in the later stages of a program, but are not in some industrial 20-bed facility, but are in a group home where there's 3 or 4 or 5 residents. And that's why we believe it would be appropriate in these zones where there's a substantially smaller lot size, because we could repurpose homes that already exist there. So again, it is the court's prerogative to do what it wills, but this is why we have asked for those facilities to be in those other R zones. One other thing is the version of the ordinance that I have in front of me, which may be the one that is in front of the court, I'm not certain. We had intended to take out of the list the zones of RS, RD, RL, and RH. And so if the version of the ordinance that you have in front of you under 155, 124A location includes RS, RD, RL, and RH, then that is a previous version of that, and not the one that I had submitted back to Mr. Hewitt. So the list that we are asking for currently is RR, RA, B, and C. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, we have RA has been removed as well. We can remove RS, RD, RL, RH, and that leaves only one other R, and that's RM. What is that, Robert? Squire Muller, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Judge. Thank you. I just want to say that this is a huge problem in Franklin County, and the Deatons have obviously, this is what they do. This is their wheelhouse, and I think Mr. Hewitt and Mr. Harper have worked with the choir, Sheriff Choir. I'm sorry, and I just want to say I'm fine with their recommendations. I think if that's what it's going to take to get people back on their feet, and it sounds like it's a very controlled environment. I don't run a facility like this, so I don't want to be the one telling them what's right and wrong if this has been proven to work. So I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Mr. Hewitt, tell us what RM is. He's saying that he wants that one left in.
RM isn't in the ordinance.
It's not in the document.
Well, okay, it's on my sheet. I'm sorry. Then I'm sorry that comes out then. Now, is that correct, Mr. Hart, that RM comes out?
Yes, that is not on my list.
Okay, that's on my sheet. Okay.
So the sheet that I have in front of me, so we can all be sure that we're working from the same document, somewhat like we discussed about the Planning Commission meeting minutes earlier. The document I have on page 2 of 4 under 155124 residential recovery facility A location says it includes AG, RR, RA, RB, RC. It does include, Mr. Harp, RS, RD, RL, and RH for the R's. Then PO, CL, IC, and IG. So maybe you could make sure to share with us. You said the R's, the only RR that was included, I guess, in your conversation with others would be what? Just so we make sure we're all on the same page. Because it sounds like our material is not maybe what you submitted back.
I think that appears to be accurate based upon what I'm looking at here. I noted that on my copy of that, it looked to me that the actual list at the heading may be accurate. Regardless, I'm sorry for demurring. The list that we are asking for is RR, RA, RB, RC. Those are the only R's that we are asking for, is those 4 residential zones, RR and ABC.
Okay, and so we have, there were 4 votes to remove RA. So RA has been removed. Are there 4 votes to remove RB?
Be one.
Judge, may I ask a question again about the lot size? Because as I understood it, just in general terms, I think that were shared with us.
Okay.
And for RB and RC, and then again RS, those lot sizes, but I guess RS is not part of the conversation. I'm sorry, I'll remove that. Those lots get smaller as the letters grow in the alphabet. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Okay, and so the lot size for RB would be what is the lot size for RB? The only reason I'm asking is because over on the next page 3 of 4, it talks about minimum lot size for the facility in RA would be 1 acre, which, as I understood earlier in the conversation, the lot size for RA is 1,500 square feet, which doesn't meet the minimum that is in item E. So if that is the case, then RB and RC would not, just by general definition of the term. Is that correct? Or I just want to make sure I'm understanding it properly.
So the minimum lot size for an RB zoning lot is 9,000 square feet.
RB.
So an RA zone is 1 acre as opposed to 5. And that was a concern for some of the magistrates, right? Is that correct? We wanted to keep it at 5, a minimum of 5 acres. Right, Robert? Anybody? Somebody speak up. Squire Moore?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So
RR is 5 acres, right? Yes. RA is not 5 acres. RA is 1 acre. RB would be less than 1 acre. Robert, you got to help me here. RC would be even less than 1 acre.
So, Judge, per the current ordinance, RB minimum lot size is 9,000 square feet. For the RC, the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet.
How many square feet are in an acre, Robert?
43,560.
Okay, so all of them are a lot less than an acre.
Yes, and once again, the RA, per the zoning regulation, the minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet. That's why in Mr. Harp's presentation, he said they far exceeded the minimum by asking for it to have a 1 acre minimum for this specific use.
Okay. All right. Squire Tracy.
Robert, I'm sorry, but can you give us another example of the RC zoning?
Are you referring to like a neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Give me 1 second. Let me switch screens. I'll give you a few examples. Let me set the phone up here. I got to use my hands to pan out. Let's see here. Bear with me briefly, please. Let's see. All right, so as I look through our zoning map, an RC district would be located, let's see. At a quick scan, there's not a whole lot in the county, if any, that I'm running across because of the density and the requirement for public sewers.
No, Bailey, no.
So let me check the east side of town. At a quick glance, I'm not really seeing any RCs outside the city limits. If you'd like an example of something within the city, we'd be looking at areas such as Thornhill neighborhood, let's see, Rolling Acres, Winding Way, Myrtle Avenue. That's a large swath of RC in the city. But really in the county that I'm not, in a quick glance, I'm not running across any RC districts.
Okay. We have RB. Can you give us an example of an RB?
Oh, yes. So RB would be, so you have like, Westover, you've got the Secretariat in the back of Silver Lake 2. We have Chokeville area, Westridge subdivision across from the school. We also have down in the southern part of the county. Well, a map wants to cooperate. Let's see here. There we go. So in the southern part of the county, we have
What about Coolbrook?
Yes, ma'am. Coolbrook, Edgewood, Farmdale, Farmgate. We've got Dove Creek off of Mill Lane. Huntington Woods is RB. So those are some of the notable subdivisions with that classification.
Okay.
Once again, for the most part, are on either they're on public sewer.
We don't, RC isn't applicable. Do you want, even though it's not applicable, do you want to keep it in or take it out? Court?
I'd want to take it out.
Take it out, okay. Anybody disagree with that? All right, we'll take out RC. RB.
I'd say take it out.
Take it out. Anybody want to keep it in? Anybody want to say something?
Take it out.
Take it out. Anybody want to keep it in? Mueller wants to keep it in.
Judge?
Who, I don't know. Is it Tracy? Go ahead, Squire.
It just appears to me that we're going right back in the same direction we were at a couple meetings ago when we squeezed it. You know, I'm to the point now where I'm not sure that very many people haven't been touched by this in some way or another, or know someone that has. And we need them. I mean, I think our community needs it.
Well, right now we've
Listen to
got
Sheriff
AG
Choir,
and
so.
RR, AG and RR, then PO, CL, CG, CH, IC, and IG. So it's not as if we're saying we can't have it. We're just
Yeah,
putting.
no, I get it. I totally understand.
Okay, Squire Booth and Squire Moore have recommended that RB come out. Anybody else with an RB? Squire Muller recommends to keep it in. Squire Blackburn, I don't see Squire Blackburn. Anybody see Squire Blackburn? Are you here? Yeah.
Sorry, you lost me there for a second. You know, I'm leaning the way Scotty did. Every one of these uses are conditional. You know, this is a big need in our community. Every adjoining landowner will be notified. There'll be public hearings. This isn't going to just pop up overnight and you've got one of these next door to you without due notice and how it all works. I know they've gone above and beyond. I know that Robert Hewitt, I mean, he's reached out to set up meetings with the sheriff. The fire department's doing a plan for every one of them. You know, I've spoke to Judge Wingate. I've spoke to a lot of people about this, and I've gotten a lot of kickback. Everybody wants it in our community, but they don't want it next door to them. We put them in an area where we put them in an industrial zone right next to a warehouse. That's not a refreshing thing to look out your window every morning. And that's where you're living to recover, to get your life back on track. I've seen this firsthand with my family. I've lost a nephew and I've kept a nephew because he went to a facility like this. It's deeply affected my life. So I liked it the way it stands. So when you ask who's for, I like them all because we're all going to have a say, and the community will, every time one is proposed. So I'm for RB. I want to keep RB.
Okay. Anybody else? Squire Muller, Squire Blackburn, Mr. Moore, Squire Moore.
Yeah. You say the neighbors are going to be contacted and all that, but I've got one in my neighborhood and they've got sewage running down the creek and the health department can't do anything about it because it's already in operation. Nobody wants this right next door to them. And by going in less than 5 acres, it's going to be right next door to them. You're going to have several people living in a house. And a lot of my complaints come because someone's got several people living in a house. My constituents don't want this. So I'm going to stay at 5 acres.
Okay. Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Squire Moore, I'm a little confused there because Mr. Harp stated that really no more people would be living in a home than under normal circumstances. So to me, if there's sewage running down, that's a bigger problem that the state needs to be notified, because that would be happening if your average Joe lived in that house. I don't think that has anything to do with this program. So I don't think it's fair to just put recoveries out on 5+ acres. I don't think it's healthy for the people being in recovery. And so that's where I'm in.
Well, it may not, but it's happening. And I've not been able to do anything about it. So that's why I'm where I am.
Okay, so right now we've got AGRR, RB, and I think RC got taken out. So really the question is what do you want to do about RB? Squire Sebastian.
Judge, can I go back and ask a question about RA? Because as I understand it, RA is larger than RB. Is that, I just want to make sure I'm understanding that properly.
I'll let Robert answer that.
Yes, RA has a larger minimum lot size than RB.
But it's not 5 acres.
No, sir. It's minimum in the RA zone is 15,000 square feet per lot for a single family home.
Well, I could definitely, I'll say this, I understand the nature of the need for this, and I think everyone has expressed that they would like to be amenable to making this work for our community, so that individuals who are already here struggling with these challenges don't have to go outside of the community. So I could be for RA definitely before I would be for a smaller lot size, just because individuals need a place to get outside and walk around. And if there are going to be animals to work with, they're going to need a larger lot size. I didn't hear us, we had gone through some elementary discussion of what type of neighborhoods in the county were in RB and RC. Can we get just some kind of edification about RA, just so we have a sense about that?
Mr. Hewitt, can you look that up?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Let me.
Thank you.
So RA would be, let's see, we've got Bon Air and subdivision off Purcell's Road. We have over there on Bogey Lee. The name slipping my mind, off of Shinkle Lane.
Talk about the Oaks.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you. The Oaks. We also have, let me zoom in. So out on Leestown Road, we have Spring Hill subdivision. There's an RA. And of course, there's a large farm to the east of that that's currently zoned RA. We have the Pine Woods subdivision, also off of Leestown Road, that is RA. So I'm just sort of going over existing subdivisions to give everyone a sense, built out subdivisions, if you will. Now, if I go to the west side of town,
Benson Creek.
let's see here. I'm zooming in over on the west side.
Robert, while you're doing that, is anything RA is the smallest lot size for septics, isn't it?
Well, actually, a new RA district now would not be allowed to be on septic because of the requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. So it looks like the lion's share of RA zoning districts are on the east side of town, or of the county, excuse me. Everything on the west side appears to be RB in general terms. So hope that answers the question of the squires.
Okay, it's time to kind of get our heads around this so we can move on to the next item. So we've got everybody agrees to the first two, AG and RR. The second one is RA, and at first there were 4 people that wanted it removed. I believe it was Moore, Sebastian, me, and Booth. Is there are there any changes to that?
I was one of those.
What were you? Okay.
Right.
Any changes to keep
I
it?
withdraw my objection to RA.
So you want to keep RA in?
Yes.
Okay. Squire Tracy,
Yeah,
you want to keep it in now?
no, I supported taking RA out.
Okay. Sebastian?
I'm still at leaving it out.
Okay. All right. That's RA is out. RB? RB?
I'm
I'm out.
surprised that a lot of my neighborhoods or my district neighborhoods are not RA, but if they're RB, I think they're big enough.
Okay. Do you want to leave
West End
RB?
and Brent Lawn, Vincent Creek.
Do you want to leave Squire Booth? What do you want to do? Leave RB in or take it out?
Leave RB in.
Okay. Squire Moore, you want to take RB out?
Correct.
Okay.
I might
In
be
or
by
out?
myself.
In or out? I just need four people. We've got 1 and 1 for RB.
Judge, I'm in. I think you know that.
Okay.
I'm good with the current list, so you can go ahead and count my vote.
You got 2 in. Squire Blackburn, you in? That's 3.
Judge, based on it being a smaller lot size, I think I'm going to be out on that one.
Okay. That's 2 out. Tracy?
Again, like I said earlier, I think we're just going back. So, I kind of go back to what the sheriff said. You know, the sheriff's had long, detailed conversations with this group and feels comfortable. So, yeah, I'm fine with leaving it in.
All right. RB's in. All right. The next one is RC.
Were you okay with that, Judge? Were you okay with?
I'd like to take it out, but it doesn't matter. You outvoted me, so. RC?
No.
Squire Moore?
It's, smaller than RB, so leave it out.
Squire Booth, did you say something?
I said no to
Okay.
RC.
Okay. Squire Sebastian?
I think the lot size again just makes it very difficult. So I'll say no to that.
Okay. Anyone else want to say anything? Okay, I'll say no. We'll take RC out. So the rest are out. So right now we have AG, RR, PO, CL, CG, CH, IC, and IG. Can we all agree that that's what we have? All right. So, Mr. Hart, thank you. The deacons, thank you. I know this has been an arduous task. And I'm glad to see you smile, Mr. Harp, and we'll move forward. And there's one thing about this court: if we see a wrong, we'll correct it. If we see something that and that means that if we see that there can be changes, I'm sure we can come back and look at it in a different angle if we see that there's possibilities. Okay. So with that being said, we'll not be voting tonight, but on the agenda next week or in 3 weeks, we'll have the ones that we just talked about. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hart.
Thank you.
Dr. Deetons, thank you all very much. God bless you for what you do. Thank you very much for what you do.
Judge, would you go over that list one more time?
Okay, what I have is AG, RR, PO, CL, CG, CH, IC, and IG, right? No, I'm sorry, there's one, RB stayed. I apologize. I thought that when I said that. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Hart. So once again, Robert Hewitt, you need to, in a timbre, if you're on, it would be AG, RR, RB, PO, CL, CH, CG, IC, and IG. All right. All right. Everybody got it? Everybody good? Everybody good? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. The next item, Mr. Hewitt, this is the Robert Hewitt Show tonight, everybody. And Robert, you're the star of the show. You're just about finished, though, halfway there. The next item goes back to you, and this is a creation of a temporary construction easement at the city of Frankfort at Lakeview Park. Mr. Hewitt, and we have Mr. Hodgson on. Hello, Mr. Hodgson. Good to see you. You got any update on Hoggy's Ice Cream when it's going to open back up?
We'll be back open again in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be opening up a few weeks after that for the season.
We miss it down here. Okay, that's the last plug I'm gonna give you for the night for your business. All right, Mr. Hewitt.
Yes, sir. This is a request by the city of Frankfort, specifically the Frankfort Sewer Department, to gain approval from the court in hopes of relocating the Silver Lake pump station from Silver Lake 1 subdivision across the street to Lakeview Park. So before they complete design, they are requesting the court grant a series of easements, one being a temporary construction easement, a permanent sanitary sewer easement, a permanent access easement, and permanent utility easements to provide service to this pump station. And then, this will tie into their main collection system. So if approved, and if design is completed, funding is appropriated, and construction is completed, the pump station at Silver Lake 1 subdivision would be decommissioned, the collection system realigned to send it over to the pump station at Lakeview Park to serve their residents, both within the city and the county. And you were provided a copy of the easement documents that were quite detailed. It could be confusing. However, I do have Mr. Hodgson, the director of the Frankfort Sewer Department, online, and he can help address any additional information and concerns or questions the court may have. I could also add that this has been presented to the Park Committee on numerous occasions. These easement documents were provided both back to the Park Committee as well as the Fiscal Court via this resolution.
Squire Blackburn.
Were they also given to the consultants?
They were given an earlier design, not necessarily the easement documents, but just the location of the pump station. That was several months ago. And basically, once they got a contract signed, or when the county agreed to the contract, that's when the general document was sent to them. The same one that an earlier version that was sent to the Park Committee. So yes.
Squire Mahler.
Thank you, Judge. Kenny, thanks for being on here. I know this has been many years down the road, and I know the people of Silver Lake will be happy if this gets passed here. Question, and kind of piggybacking on Squire Blackburn's, So are you familiar with the current park project that we're looking at building at Lakeview Park? Will everything, I noticed there's a line that's running up and I think it's tying into our existing restrooms. Do you see any issue with if we're able to build a proposed facility, this pump station being able to handle that with no problem?
We did design this so that it has some additional, so a smaller amount of additional capacity with it, but we are abandoning an old force main that goes along with this and putting a new one in. So that force main will stay in the ground. It'll just be capped off. So if we need to upsize pumps and, look at additional capacity, it does have that possibility, for additional capacity and even upsize it without a huge cost again.
Okay, thank you.
But if we do upsize it, the cost would come back to us. Is that correct, Kenny?
Just depends on what project it is. We try to, any developer obviously is responsible for upgrading to get capacity to their facilities. But in this instance, if it's just a pump upgrade, after so many years, we have to change our pumps anyway. So that would be a simple change, and it may be a small charge depending on what the flow is. Now, if we're looking at a significant amount of flow, obviously that would require a little bit more engineering and making sure that we have capacity downstream.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Kenny, we've been talking about this, seems like for several years now. And
we have, and I know
this moving forward.
I know that the residents in Silver Lake will be very happy when it's gone.
Yeah, I hear you. We've all heard from them. All right. Thank you, Kenny. We'll
Thank
move
you
on.
all.
As you know, this is our work session, and then we'll get into a voting session this evening. That usually moves fairly quickly. So I think all the questions have been answered or been asked from you. Thank you for being on, Kenny. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, here's another one that's been going on for a while, and this is a resolution to work on an MOU between Brighton Park, City of Frankfurt, and the Fiscal Court for repair of stormwater detention basin to help flooding in Bon Air and into the Two Creeks area as well. So we've witnessed a lot of flooding over the years. Robert, we've been tracking it. This is one piece that could help those areas, right?
Yes, sir. You are correct. So this Brighton Park detention basin is located within the city limits in the Brighton Park subdivision at the end of Brighton Park Boulevard. However, it discharges directly across the city limit line into the county, into several subdivisions, as you mentioned, one of them namely Two Creeks, because this discharge flows next to the guard shack, the main entrance into the development. It's one of the areas that first floods down by I forget which green it is or which fairway it is, but that's one of the areas that floods first. So once again, the city and county, myself and Katie Beard, the city public works director, are looking at opportunities from a watershed basis of how we can minimize flooding, control large rain events as a combined effort. And this is an opportunity that we've gotten to now, in which the owner of the subdivision, the development in Brighton Park, has agreed that if to allow the city and the county to jointly go in, make the necessary corrections, and do the analysis to increase the capacity of this facility. And then the city would require that Brighton Park sign a maintenance agreement for them to maintain it in perpetuity from here on out, because the main issue of this basin is it was never maintained. It's lost capacity, it's silted up. I personally would like in the analysis to see some design to the control structure and the orifices so that it detains as opposed to serving as a pass-through. So that's going to be one of my goals in this design. So this is a benefit to both the city and the county, more so probably the county. and the city's been great to work with, and this will be a cooperative effort for minimal cost. And I recommend approval, and I hope this is just the beginning of many joint projects relating to stormwater in this community to serve the residents and visitors that come here.
Very good, Robert. Any questions? Squire Blackburn, this is in your area.
Yes, sir. This is something I was looking at 3 years ago, and I know we had talks. Robert was talking with Public Works, and I remember talking to Keith Barker when he was still at Public Works, and then Katie Beard. And I'm glad we finally got this sorted out. I think it's a great resolution to the problem, creating a more retention and having them do a maintenance agreement in perpetuity. I think that's outstanding. And I think we'll see a little relief down that long fairway coming into Two Creeks. And ultimately it dumps into a sinkhole and then comes out in our watershed. So I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great partnership. And I just wish they moved a little quicker than they do.
Okay, anybody else? Squire Sebastian?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Judge. I would agree with Squire Blackburn. I think this is obviously a long overdue project, and pretty exciting that it's advancing and hopefully will advance quickly to abate these kind of issues. I do just have a general question. When I was reading through the document in item 4, is there any need to specify the type of equipment that the county proposes? It says we're going to provide a Komatsu, which is spelled incorrectly, excavator. But in the clause above it, item 3, it says they're going to be 3 single axle dump trucks. It doesn't specify that they're Ford or Volvos or Whites. I mean, I just didn't know if there was some reason that the county needed to specify what type of equipment that we're going to bring to this work, just in case we don't have the Komatsu at the time. I mean, just that question. So there's one. The second question, is there a way that our time will be tracked, that the county works on this? Because it sounds like this work is needed. So I just wondered how that time would be tracked specifically for that project. And then it also mentions, I guess, in item 2, as I look at this, will the stormwater management BPM facility operation and maintenance agreement, is that something that's going to be brought back to the fiscal court at some point to review, or will that just be reviewed by council at the city, council at the county? I just didn't know how that would work. So just wondering how that's going to work. So I don't know who answers any of those questions, but thank you.
Mr. Hewitt?
Yes, sir. So the equipment has been specified to provide for a project budget, okay? Because we did not want this to be a blank check. All right. So it was specified for all parties involved to know exactly what the responsibility was of each party. As you look in item 2 of the document, the Brighton Park Landmark LLC is responsible for paying the county for their time and materials. So that I hope that addresses the time question. Either the superintendent or the foreman for the county will obviously be tracking time via work orders and things of that nature. So all that will be tracked, and then the city and the county will come together and provide that information compiled and give that to Brighton Landmark LLC. As it relates to the maintenance agreement, since this location is within the city limits, the city has their own maintenance document that has been reviewed by the city solicitor as well as the city commission. When back in 2017, the city and county adopted a joint procedures manual, of which that maintenance agreement is located within. So this would not come back to the court. It would go back to the city, and if the property owner fails to maintain the facility per the maintenance agreement, then enforcement would be conducted by the city of Frankfort.
Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Robert, thank you for that. Kind of piggybacking on that, if the verbiage is for single axle dump trucks, I think we all know what size that is. Komatsu excavator could be an 8,000, or it could be a whole lot bigger than that as far as what they're anticipating us bringing. So do you see any need for the size of the excavator? Because there could be a big difference there.
If I'm not mistaken, the county only owns a single Komatsu excavator, but if Mr. Mitchell's on the meeting, perhaps he could clarify that for the court.
I just want to make sure from legality, you know, whoever's paying for this doesn't say, well, we thought it was a bigger excavator and it should have taken less time than maybe what we have. I just looking out.
Sure. Mr. Mitchell, are you available to answer the question?
Yeah, I'm here. That was an estimate. What they wanted was an estimate, and that's equipment we had at the time, and we based that off FEMA rates. So that's what I gave. You know, I don't know whether we have to specify it or not. We can take that out. I don't see it that big a deal, but that was what it was. We turned it in like that, and that's what they used.
Okay, thank you, John. All right, anybody else? All right, seeing no one else. Robert, thank you. Great job through all that you've been working on there.
Thank you.
Now let's go to Mr. Sparks. We've been working on this one for a while. This is the second reading, approval of an ordinance amending the operation of the county fiscal court. Chapter 30, Administrative Code Purchase and Contracts. Mr. Sparks.
Yes, sir. And
welcome, sir. Good to see you. And you want to say a little bit about this?
It's just the final revision, or it's on for the second reading on the final revision of that code procurement issue. We've had it kicked around, revised it once, and it's back before the court for consideration at 22,000, I believe is set, but it is set across all of the procurement code sections. So it doesn't just cover one section or two sections, et cetera. We did it to cover all of them. So it's on for second reading.
All right. Any questions on that?
I think it's perfect.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sparks. The next item is authorization to approve amending the time and rank, time and service, employee hiring process sections contained in the SOPs for the fire department. Chief Brewer.
Thank you, Judge. Good evening, court. I'd like to start off by thanking the court for recognizing the Firefighter of the Year award. Captain Daniel is well deserving. Also like to thank the VFW for sponsoring those awards. As far as the fire department SOPs, just a couple of minor changes on the time and rank, time and service SOP. The SOP committee has met and determined that from feedback from their fellow firefighters that it would be better served for everyone if the firefighter rotation was a 4-month rotation at the station rather than a 3-month. Allow them a little more time to adjust to and learn their districts. So that's the only change coming from that SOP. And then go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The employee hiring process. I'm sure you all recall here recently, I think it was back in the first meeting in December, we changed the hiring ordinance to reflect age changes. So the main change for the hiring process SOP is to reflect that change. Our previous SOP stated a specific hiring ordinance. After getting feedback from Councilor Sparks, we were looking to change this to just recognize the current hiring ordinance that's on file with the administrative code. So that's the wording that's being reflected in that change.
And that is correct, members of the court. And that's basically because, as the court has seen over the last 2 years, the revision, codification, et cetera, and the need to change those from time to time as opposed to use the specific formal court ordinance. So that tracks that language completely. Good job, Chief.
Thank you. Be happy to field any questions anyone may have.
Any questions for the chief? Chief, thank you. Sorry we didn't get the pinning, but congratulations on your new job, and you've hit the ground running, and I know that there's a lot of things that you're working on, but most importantly, we're so proud of the fire department, and we're tickled with your leadership, and so proud of everybody at the fire department, what they do for our community. What a great department.
Thank you, Judge. It's a great group of employees, that's for sure.
Amen to that. Y'all stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next three items, Miss Annie, you're on, and oh my goodness, it seems like we've been working on this for a while, and this is great news, and it looks like the first one is the Farmdale Water District, and I'll say this, Annie, and I'm sure you've heard this too, but I believe it was Squire Sebastian asked about there was a $3 surcharge that was put on the residents in the district, and that was put on by the Public Service Commission. They required them to put that on there because of the water leakage. And as part of this, as you and I, Ann, have gone through and talked with the board members, that we want that taken off. They have assured us that they're going to work with the Public Service Commission to get that $3 surcharge taken off because this helps. This $100,000 will help them in what they need to do is get the water lines fixed that leak. So Annie, you want to say something first before I go to questions?
Sure. Good evening, court. And as the judge was saying, tonight we have 3 of our water districts who are applying for the grant program that was created by Fiscal Court for their infrastructure projects. This first one is for Farmdale Water District, and it's out in the South Benson Road area for some water line replacements of some lines that are experiencing frequent breakage, water loss, and service interruptions. I'm happy to field any questions on that. As the judge said, Mr. Clifford Tolles, who's the chairman of the Farmdale Water District Board, has said that he will work with their attorney and with the PSC to see if they can't get that water loss fee taken off of the water bills. I'm happy to answer questions on this.
Let's go with Squire Tracy. I think he was up first.
Judge, you referenced the PSC required them to put the fee on. So the PSC told Farmdale Water they were going to start charging that fee, and or did the Farmdale Water request to charge that fee?
From when as you all asked me if I knew about it, I didn't. So when I had a chance to talk with the board about it, that it was their response that the Public Service Commission required them to add that fee.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Squire Sebastian.
I appreciate you bringing that up tonight, Judge, because it was certainly something I was going to bring up. And as you referenced, it sounds like that someone had said that the PSC required Farmdale to do that. So I'll make a point to touch base with PSC just to make sure we're all very clear about that, because I continue to hear about the water loss reduction fee that's put on these bills. And we have all been told that customers are responsible for the water meter to their home and any water loss that is that occurs in that area only. So it would be good to make sure we're all clear with what the PSC has directed someone to do. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I was going to ask about that. Thank you again. I'll come back with information for sure.
Well, if you're going to talk with the Public Service Commission, I think that Farmdale, you ought to talk with the Farmdale Water District, because they would greatly appreciate you, along with them, ask the Public Service Commission to allow them to use the funds that they've collected and drop the $3 service charge. So make sure you do that as well, if you would.
Well, it's probably just in some minutes somewhere on their website on PSC, because they post all of these. They post a variety of documents, especially requests for funds or directives. So that's certainly the first place to look. And and certainly their treasurer had reached out to me today, and that's how the correction of the letter and the material and the documents came about tonight after him reaching out to me on a completely different issue. So so we certainly stay in touch. It's just one of those things where I try to do my due diligence on everything. The first place I'll go is look for some documents on PSC. Thank you very much.
Miss Annie, you want to go the next one?
I think
the
Squire
piecemeal?
Muller's got a question.
Oh, okay, Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Ann, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Just want to make sure. I noticed on their request letter, it looks like there's a misspelling. It says 10,000 instead of 100,000.
We got a correction on that today, so you should have an updated copy
okay.
of the letter that also includes the date and the signature.
Okay.
Appreciate Squire Sebastian calling those details out to Mr. Morse and him following up on that, and Mr. Tolles as well. If I can say something about this grant program that I see as such a great outcome that we kind of anticipated, but I don't think we had fully realized the benefits of it. When we started this discussion with the water districts, one of the things that we required them to do was to enter certainly these projects that they have planned on applying for the grant for, but also to enter all of their infrastructure need projects into the WRIS portal, because many of them were not familiar with that process at all. And of course, that's where the ability to fund these infrastructure projects normally comes from. So we were able to not only get them familiar with this process and get them connected with Karen Leverins, who's head of Water Management Council at Bluegrass Ad, but also that enables them to network with all of the water districts in 17 other counties. So it gives them a great source of communication, not just with us, which it has been, but also with the AD, with KIA, and with other water districts. So we feel like it's been a true educational process going through this. And we've had, for example, Woodford County reach out to us and say, tell us what you did, because Karen Leverins is talking so highly about this program, and we want to repeat that in Woodford County. So there's been a lot of positives already come out of this, and I think of course the infrastructure improvements will be the ultimate positive. So I'm happy to answer any more questions about Farmdale, or I can move on to the next one.
Squire Booth. You're on mute, Squire Booth. Squire Booth, sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. The projects you said are all listed with the in that portal, and it's open to the public, right? I mean,
it certainly is. You can go on the KIA website and you can access the portal and pull up any of the projects in Franklin County and take a look at them.
Oh, okay. I will do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move to the Peaks Mill Water District.
Okay, the next request is, of course, from Peaks Mill Water District, and it's for replacement of the sulfur booster pump station that serves northern Franklin County, and it serves some customers in southern Owen County. So the ask for this project is they're requesting their $100,000 grant from Franklin County. They're doing the same with Owen County, and then the remainder of the funds will come from the water district's own funds. This pump station currently will serve 124 Franklin County households, 64 Owen County households. So I'm glad to answer any questions on this one as well.
Okay. All right. Miss Annie, thank you. Let's now go to the US 60 Water District.
Okay, US 60 is also requesting a grant, and they are replacing meters. So the one thing that we're waiting for with a couple of these folks, and they know that there won't be any, if they're approved, there won't be any drawdowns done until they've received the rest of their clearinghouse documents. That process is taking a little bit longer right now because, of course, all of our state agencies are overburdened and probably understaffed, and They're doing a great job and we appreciate them, but the clearinghouse process is important and we're going to be waiting until we have everything in hand before approving any drawdowns.
And that's just for,
Meters, I think, in it, Annie.
Yes, the US 60 is for meter replacements.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions? And I want to say how grateful we are to you, and I know that the water districts are grateful to you, and Karen Leverance as well from the Bluegrass Ad. It has opened avenues for them to find other ways and other things that they can apply for, because that's what Karen is there to help them with. But you've been right there, step by step, holding their hands, several of the board members' hands, to help them get through it. And I know they're very appreciative of you, and we at the Fiscal Court are appreciative of your help in making sure these monies get out to the district, because what that does is it all, as we see, especially in the Farmdale right off the bat, that could help tremendously in the residents out there. So
absolutely,
this is a good project. Once again, this is coming from our ARPA funds that the federal government allotted to us, so we're making good use of those. So thank you, Annie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. The next item is the treasurer's quarterly report. You were presented that at the last meeting. Susan is out. And the next is to receive the treasurer's report. And Susan has asked that you get hold of her if you have any questions on that. But I guess really the main thing is the payment of claims. And we do have Tambra on, and Tambra can answer if there's any questions on the payment of the claims. Okay. Now let's go to other business. Is there any other business? All right. Constitutional officers or department reports or committee updates. Mr. Brewer, are you on to report something?
Yes, Judge. I just wanted to let everyone know that the fire department is accepting applications for a new hire process. We'll be accepting applications till 4 p.m. on February 7th. The applications can be retrieved online at the Fiscal Court's webpage. The ad has been posted on the webpage as well as Facebook. So if anybody out there who's watching may want to apply for the fire department, it'd be a great opportunity.
Great. Okay. And I apologize for calling you Mr. Brewer. I should have called you Chief. I apologize. All right. Squire Tracy.
Chief Brewer, what's the age limits on that again?
The age is 18 to 40. And that's at the close of the application period on February 7th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Court.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Any other reports? All right. If you want, we'll take a 5-minute recess. It's 10 after 7. At 7:15, we'll come back and do the voting session. We'll take a 5-minute recess. We're recessed until 7:15. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for watching. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court voting session for January 20th, 2022. We're glad that you're here. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Squire Sebastian,
Here.
Squire Blackburn,
Present.
Squire Muller,
Present.
Squire Tracy,
Here.
Squire Booth,
Present.
Squire Moore,
Here.
Judge Wells.
Here. Would you please stand for the pledge? Leading us in the pledge tonight is Abigail. Abigail is the daughter of Bart and Stacy Ligori, and we welcome you, Abigail. Thank you for leading us in the pledge tonight.
Hello, my name is Abigail Ligori. I'm an FH student. I'm a junior, and I'd like everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much. All right. The first item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our regular meeting of January the 7th, 2022.
So moved.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Is there a second by Squire Sebastian? All right. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yeah.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to surplus a vehicle for trade-in purposes from the sheriff's office.
So moved.
Seconded by moved by Squire Blackburn, seconded by Squire Booth. Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore, Judge
Squire
Wells.
Moore, we didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is the second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 155, Section 155.085, Table of Permitted Uses, to include the land use of many warehouses, self-storage facilities as a permitted use in the Highway Commercial Zoning District and Section 155.089, noted special conditions, to add noted special condition number 28. Is there a motion to approve that? I'm sorry. Who said anything? No motion? Okay,
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
you'll make the motion? Is there a second? I'll second it. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
There was inconsistent, I guess, discrepant information in the minutes of the Planning Commission on December 9th, which were provided as part of our packet and which we discussed tonight at the work session. So I guess for that reason, I'll be voting no on it tonight.
Was this something we should put off till we get that figured out?
I think the record needs to be cleared up. And I said that earlier. I'll still stand by that. So if we're going to be forced to vote on it till that's cleared up, because we're going to have discrepant records from here going forward on this issue.
Well, I think we ought to table this, Judge, until we get that.
Can we now table it now that's gone to a vote, Tambra?
I would like to defer to the county attorney.
Okay.
I can withdraw my vote if somebody will withdraw their motions.
The matter's already been presented for a vote.
So we have to vote on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There was a motion and a second.
Yes, there was.
Can they withdraw their motions? Not.
I withdraw my motion.
Can you withdraw the motion?
Happened before.
No.
You can't withdraw it, so we have to vote.
At this point, you've already voted for it with the motion and a second to be decided on. If we did it before, I'll take the blame for that, but the motion's already out there.
Okay. Squire did you call on Squire Sebastian? She voted no, right?
Correct.
Continue to call the roll.
Squire Blackburn,
I just want to say, if I remember correctly, we had an issue like this come up before where Squire Moore made a motion and withdrew his motion, and it was reconsidered. We didn't move forward with it.
That was on a findings of facts.
No, that was on a park project plan.
I do believe that this has occurred previously, and I don't have my Robert's Rules of Order with me. However, I think that if the court gives permission for a motion to be withdrawn, that it can be. But like I said, I don't have my book with me, but I believe that is how it's supposed to officially be handled, is that everyone agrees that it's okay for a motion to be withdrawn.
Yeah, if we're not clear on the minutes coming to us, I think we should pull it.
We should what?
He's withdrawing his motion.
We're not clear on the minutes got from the planning commission. But
so is that the issue that you're wanting to withdraw it on, is because of a lack of clarity from the planning commission?
Yes.
Minutes. The minutes.
And is the court all consistent in the reconciliation by withdrawal of the motion?
I would like to vote.
Oh, well, okay.
I'd like there to be clarity. I don't like voting under pretenses that there's folks are unclear.
All right. I don't either.
I think it sets a bad precedent.
Don't disagree with that.
So if Squire Moore is willing to withdraw his motion, I'm willing to withdraw my second.
Okay, that probably solves the entire problem right there.
Okay. So we will table this matter and have the planning commission have Robert. What were the incongruities?
They stated that fiscal court asked for this to be brought back up, and that's not the case.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's good enough, really.
Yeah, well, I think we need to clear on who filed this request. So I think that clears it up real quick, who filed for the request.
Right.
Squire Baller?
So Judge, let me ask you, if it wasn't anybody from the fiscal court, will it even be eligible to be on our agenda?
Yeah, yeah, the entities that were requesting this in the first place would have to refile again, or had to refile again with the Planning and Zoning Commission to get it to go back through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
But what I'm getting at is what entities? We have an ordinance here. That's I don't have anything about anything else from a legal standpoint.
I don't know.
Judge Wells, this is Robert.
Yeah.
As the director of the Planning and Building Codes Department, I have the authority to present to the Zoning Update Committee and the Planning Commission a recommended text amendment.
What does that mean?
I guess my question is, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but if in a previous meeting this failed, I'm still confused why it's back under what it's back. I guess that's my question.
Robert?
Me too.
I think changes have been made since the last request.
Yeah, the changes have been made. I think, I don't know, we'll have to talk with the, we'll have to make some, I don't know, we'll have to figure this one out.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of things that need to be clarified. So that's
Yeah.
I think what everybody's getting at.
Does it have to be tabled or can we just forget it?
Well, the only way to forget it is by voting on it.
And as I understood, the primary member who made the motion withdrew it. The secondary member who signed up on it has withdrawn it as well, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
If we decided to, if I declined my second, would we still have to vote on it, even though the primary has made a?
Oh, I'm sorry, that got me tickled. You already done it. The game is in play even as we speak. So I understood that Squire Mr. Moore withdrew it and you signed off on it. So we're in
I'd
play.
be willing to, but
So
I don't want this thing to just go on and on. This is insane.
Just clarification on it. We can go from there.
But the question is it going to do any? Is it going to make any difference whether
it might?
I don't know. It failed the first time. I don't.
There's been changes made. So
Forget it. No motion, no second. Just forget it.
Robert, what do you recommend? Do you recommend that we go on and vote on it, or do we go back to Planning Commission? Do you have a recommendation?
It'd be my recommendation that the fiscal court take action this evening to vote up or down.
All right. I will keep my second and not withdraw it.
So just so everybody's on the same page, we're back to the
Voting.
back to square one again to vote on it or not, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
But I thought Squire Moore had withdrawn his motion, so somebody else is gonna have to make a motion. There's a
That's
second, nothing.
Thank you, ma'am. That was my point. It's gonna just restart again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, the judge has to ask for a motion.
Tambra has to ask. Tambra has to read. Do I have to read it again, Tambra? Okay. The next item on the agenda is second reading approval of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 155, Section 155.085, Table of Permitted Uses to include the land use of many warehouses, self-storage facilities as a permitted use in the Highway Commercial Zoning District in Section 155.089, noted special conditions to add noted special condition number 28. Is there a motion? If you want to be voted on, somebody needs to make a motion. If you want it to end, you have to make a motion. If you don't make a motion, then it goes to continues on.
It does.
Do what?
It does for failure of lack of a motion.
Miss Heritage.
Squire Booth, you wanted it to be voted on, so you should have made a motion.
If I make a motion, then I have to not vote the way I want to vote.
You can vote any way you want. You
All
vote
right,
any way
I'll
you want, you're
make a
just bringing it up to
motion.
vote on.
I move. Okay?
All right, you're making a motion, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Is anybody want to make a second? I'll make the second. Let's vote on it.
Squire Sebastian,
As I said earlier, if it stands the same way, I think there was inconsistencies and discrepant information in the minutes of the Planning Commission on December 9th, and we discussed that at length during the work session. So because of that, I'm voting no.
Squire Blackburn,
This, I do not like the way this has happened. offering and unoffering and talking people into things while we're voting. This is not the way we're supposed to do this. I represent the people that are in my district, and I feel dirty just the way this has happened. I don't like it. I think we wait for the text amendment. We look at it for face value. We get the record straight. We get the paper clean, and then we vote on it. We had that opportunity. I think it's been manipulated to make us vote. I'm not voting on it.
Could you turn your camera on so that I can officially record your
I'm
vote? I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I'm
We
sorry.
lost you.
I've got a.
It's okay. So are you going to abstain?
Yes.
Okay. Square Muller?
Way too many questions about how we got here, where we are. I can't with good conscience vote on something that just, I don't think anybody in this court understands where we are with. So if we have to vote, I'm gonna have to vote no.
Square Tracy?
With the discrepancies that we've been presented, no.
Square Booth?
Well, I'll give a reason. I vote no, and the reason is this is an ordinance that affects the whole county. And I think it's a bad idea. No.
Squire Moore?
I say we're gonna force this to come before us a third time because we wouldn't go back and get it right the first time, or the second time rather. But because of all this, I'm gonna vote no, but it'll be back.
Judge Wells?
All we have to do is let it get clarified.
I'm not sure clarification.
But we're not doing the applicant justice because of possibly a clerical error from the commission. So we should have went back and done that, but it'll be back. I'm assuming, maybe not. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I really don't understand the incongruity that saying that our planning and zoning director said that the fiscal court, I interpret it as saying that the fiscal court said this back in whatever time it was. I don't see that as an issue that should stop this voting. That being said, I think that we can go on and on and on and on. And I don't think that is not fair to the applicant either. If you're not for it, then my God, don't make people, it's costing thousands of dollars. I'm sure that this applicant it's already cost them twice the amount because they've gone and gotten a lawyer for the second time, thinking that they had an opportunity to change this. Now, I mean, if you talk about being business friendly, this is not business friendly in any way whatsoever. So I feel really sorry for the applicant here. And I'm sure they're just shaking their head thinking, oh my God, how did this get to a point? I'm going to vote yes. And with that being said, voting is over. Now, do I have to answer do we have to allow for questions since the voting is over, Mr. Sparks?
No, sir. But I would ask the court, there's some special statutory provisions that deals with ordinance violation or ordinance issues, specifically amendments, et cetera. And if the court would like me to do so and would instruct me to do so, I would love the opportunity to perhaps even present a situation to the court that once items are decided with finality, that they are decided with full finality once and for all for a period within the KRS guidelines, which could be a couple years afterwards, if the court would like me to do so.
Yes.
There we go.
Hey, Mr. County Attorney.
Yes, sir.
In regards to that line item that we just voted on, was that for an applicant or was that for an amendment to an ordinance? I keep hearing applicant. I don't.
I think those are perhaps a misstatement of the phrases in question. It's
Okay.
formally before you for a second reading on an ordinance per se. I think
Okay.
that the phrase applicant applies to the individual making the request. What is before the court today is a determination of whether that should be considered, well, and granted by virtue of a second ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, sir. But anyway, so if that's the case, I'll grab a look at it the next 2 weeks or so.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
sir.
the next item on the agenda is first reading of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, sections 155.010, definitions, 155.085, table of permitted uses, and create section 155.124, residential recovery facility, to sections 155, conditional uses, to add the land use of residential recovery facility as a conditional use in the, Tamara, would you help me? The agricultural
Yes.
AG,
It would
the
be
rural
AG.
residential RR,
Yes.
is it the rural residential RA?
No.
Okay, so we're marking out, I did it on another sheet. Are we doing RB?
Yes.
Yes.
Are we doing RC?
No.
Are we doing PO?
Yes.
Are we doing CL?
Yes.
RC was a no on my notes.
I got it as a no. Are we doing CG,
Yes.
CH,
Yes.
IC,
Yes.
and IG?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna go back and read it again so we make sure we've got it, okay? This is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Franklin County Code of Ordinances, sections 155.010, definitions, 155.085, table of permitted uses, and create section 155.124, residential recovery facility, to section 155, conditional uses, to add the land use of residential recovery facility as a conditional use in the agricultural AG, the rural residential RR, the rural residential BRB, the professional office PO, the rural limited commercial CL, the general commercial CG, the highway commercial CH, the industrial commercial IC, and the general industrial IG zoning districts. The vote will be on the February 11th meeting. Was that correct, Tambra?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The next item is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the creation of a temporary construction easement, permanent sanitary sewer easement, permanent access easement, and permanent utility easement for a new City of Frankfurt sewer pump station in Lakeview Park.
So moved.
Moved by Squire Muller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Squire Moore. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes, happy to help those residents out in Silver Lake.
Squire Blackburn,
I'm a firm believer in upgrading our infrastructure. I'm a firm yes.
Squire Muller,
Glad for everybody's help on this one, and I'm a yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes, the next item is authorization to approve a resolution authorizing the county judge executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between Brighton Landmark LLC, City of Frankfurt, and Franklin County Fiscal Court for the purposes of repair to a stormwater detention basin located on Brighton Park Boulevard to mitigate flooding.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
This is another win for residents. Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
I just want to say thank you to all the parties involved. I know Robert's worked on this for a while. I appreciate him getting the moving parts all together and the interaction between the city and our road department to help the citizens and mitigate some flooding issues. Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. The next item is a second reading approval of an ordinance amending the operation of County Fiscal Court, Chapter 30, Administrative Code Purchases and Contracts, Section 1.18118, Procedures Prerequisite to Use of Negotiated Process, and Section 0.120, Small Purchase Procedures of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances by setting a fixed minimum amount for the negotiated and bid process requirements.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
I think this is a mistake. We should be doing what the state does, but it's what the court wants. So I vote yes.
Judge Wells,
Yeah, I think the state does 30,000. It was recommended that we do 22. I believe the city does 30,000. I don't see any reason why we can't do 30,000, so I vote no. The next item is authorization to approve amending the time in rank, time in service, and employee hiring process sections contained in the Standard Operating Procedure Manual of the Franklin County Fire Department.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
I want to thank our new chief for being proactive. He is trying to make ways to make it work better for the firemen and service to our community. He even polled his firemen, and I'm grateful, and I vote yes.
Squire Muller,
I'm a big fan of SOPs. I'm a yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve a resolution in support of a grant funding Farmdale Water District Utility Project up to $100,000.
So moved.
Amen.
Second.
All right, and seconded. Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I'm a yes. When we can improve and have safe drinking water, we definitely need to do that. I look forward to hopefully removing that $3 fee. And I'm certainly going to look into that for a water loss. So I'm a yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes. Double yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes, these are the next two items, so that makes three tonight that we'll be discussing this $100,000 for the water districts. We did one at our last meeting for the Elkhorn Water District, and these are monies that were set aside by the ARPA committee and the fiscal court. These monies were part of the American Rescue Plan, and so we're using these monies to put back and help our citizens. These are water district monies. There's other monies that we're using, and we're very proud to use these monies in the proper way to help our community. So with that, I vote yes. And the next item is authorization to approve a resolution in support of a grant funding the Peaksmill Water District Utility Project up to $100,000.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve a resolution in support of a grant funding US 60 Water District Utility Project up to $100,000.
So moved.
I choked.
Okay. All right. Squire Moore with a second, I think. He was a little
Yeah,
bit.
it was-
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes. The next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's quarterly report for the period ending December 31st, 2021. It was discussed at our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
yes,
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes, the next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
second,
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
yes,
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes, the next item is payment of claims. Is there a motion to deny any payment of any claims? Seeing none, let the record reflect the claims are to be paid. The next item is authorization to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All
who
right,
was my second? Was that Squire Blackburn?
Blackburn. Blackburn. All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I'm going to vote yes, and I just want to say a huge shout out to the Franklin County Road Department who worked day and night to take care of the citizens in our community and these county roads. Thank you guys so much, and thank the state road crew for doing the same.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
I'm a yes, and I ask everybody to wear their masks so we can be over this this time. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Thank you, sir.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Before I vote, I want to announce to the public that the Park Master Plan public hearing has been set for February the 7th from 4:30 to 6:30 at the Paul Sawyer Public Library. As part of that, you don't have to come to the meeting, but you come by Zoom. And if you come by Zoom, you will be able to ask questions. So we will be taking questions. It is very important that you as the public understand what's being asked at the park. This is with this master plan. And so we encourage everyone in any way that you want to either by Zoom or come in person, or you can send in questions and we will ask and try to get you answer those questions. Once again, that's on February the 7th from 4:30 to 6:30. As part of that, the Franklin County Fiscal Court, Mr. Tippett has posted on our webpage or Facebook page the park meetings that started with the formation of the Lakeview Park Master Plan all the way up to the last meeting. So you can click on a link and see the entire meetings and what was said, what was voted on or not voted on. And so you'll have, for transparency's sake, you'll get to see the entire meeting process and what led to the Lakeview Park Master Plan, which will be presented on February the 7th. Also, as Squire Muller said, COVID is very, very, very rampant. It is hitting us hard here at the Franklin County Fiscal Court. For the people that work for the Fiscal Court, it's hitting our community hard, and we are continually having people die. So I ask, if you look at our website will tell you where you can get tested. It will also tell you where you can go to get vaccinated. So please, if you haven't been vaccinated, please consider and get vaccinated. And if you need a test, look at our website. It's there to help you in any way that we can. With that, I vote yes, and we are adjourned. God bless everybody. Thank you for watching.